to live, Rue always says, which I love, is use every crayon in the box. This is life is color. Life is big, you know, and you can't be afraid of what other people are going to think. Now, I've always been a little bit of a drag queen in my own way. And I've always loved, like I love me some Dolly Parton. I love like Big. I love like all this stuff. And I've always been actually in the way that I live very unapologetic in the way I present myself.
Hey, welcome back to the Oz Shift podcast as we get to talk to another successful person and find out how they make shift happen. And today we have someone that is an amazing, bright soul is the best way to explain it. I don't know if I could I probably could find better words, but it would be very, very hard. When I had my book coming out in August of 2021, I had the honest, amazing, gracious moment to be able to share a little bit of time with her on IG Live. But the crazy thing was that wasn't the first introduction to this person prior. Now, I run in some interesting circles, and the circles I run in, I'm always like 1 or 2 degrees away from people. And I was at that time, and now I'm not, at that time 1 degree away. And it's kind of cool when you find that people exist, and then you find out in the backside that they are beyond as cool as you probably think at the face value. So some people you find out like, this person, they look great, but they're not. But this person was amazing. In person, has been told, even before I met them, was amazing. What's cool is because they've experienced life. I think we've experienced life in different manners, different ways. You show up different ways that people don't quite understand are so powerful for how you live your life forward. And then what's cool is this person did some cool things, learned some great things in life, and they said, I'm going to bring it back to the world through the vehicle, we'll call it vessel, of their skill set, which you'll uncover here pretty soon. And they've been able to work with quite literally A-list celebrities. Now they're an author, they're on QVC, speaker, humanitarian, everything you can imagine. It's a person that probably has a clone that we don't know about. So without further ado, I'm bringing to the show my friend Mally Roncal. How are you? Hey.
Cry. That's so sweet. My goodness. That is big. And I am so excited and so happy to be here with you. It is a perfect rainy day here on the East Coast. And I told my husband this morning, I was like, this is a day you just want to feel cozy and feel love and feel wrapped up and all that good stuff. So I'm so happy.
Let's do it. It's always good, right? It's that warmth. I tell people all the time, like some of the warm, not some people are hot people, some people are cold people. I obviously would prefer the heat, but there's nothing like the comfort of like a cold day wrapped up in like a warm blanket or the fire going. You just can't beat that, man. I don't know what it is. It's like
every once in a while. Every once in a while.
Yeah.
I like it hot too.
Well, I do too. I mean, I'm from California, is where we live. I mean, cold for me, it's like 45 degrees out. It's 61 outside, and I feel like I'm freezing. Isn't that weird?
Oh, yeah, that's weird.
Sad day for me. But here goes. We're gonna hop into this episode, and I always start it with the most random question that I literally, it came out of nowhere, and then at one point my team was like, "We should get rid of that," and I was like, "All right." And then in the comments that day in the podcast, someone said, "I love the first question." I was like, "Oh, well, we're keeping it." So here's the first question. I'm walking around town on the East Coast where you live, and I sit down at this coffee shop, and this beautiful woman, turns and starts talking to me. I don't know you. Why should I listen to you?
Wow, that's a good one.
It's weird, right?
You gotta come in hot. You see, that's exactly.
But this helps open the conversation. I don't know why it does, but it turns the conversation into something weird in a great way.
It's a good one. Because you should listen to me because not everybody feels everything, and I mean everything, as much as my heart and my soul does. I always have this, I call it the blessing and the curse, right? That I feel everything, I think about 100 times more than the regular person. Just warning you, I may cry, maybe once, probably twice.
That's okay. Yeah, it's all good.
Because of that. I was born, actually just turned 50 about a month ago, which
Mhm.
has been like a life-changing experience in so many ways. I'll get into that later.
Yeah, let's dig into
But
that.
I'm an only child born of Filipino immigrants.
Hmm.
Um, my mom was actually diagnosed of breast cancer
Hmm.
before I turned 1 year old.
Hmm.
And they gave her 6 months to live. Here it goes, starting already.
Hmm. Yeah.
Gave her 6 months to live, and she actually lived till I was 17
Wow.
because she literally said to me, the minute I could understand words, was they told me that I had to go. And I told them, hell no, I'm not leaving till I knew
Yeah.
that my baby girl was going to be okay. So
Mhm.
she hung around. And I don't mean just hung around like sick in the bed, Anthony.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
She's a
hung
Filipino
around
mom.
like shopped and danced and karaoke and ate and
Yeah.
traveled. We did all those things.
Yeah.
And I honestly believe I was born with this extra heart, this extra feeling,
Mhm.
because I needed to be able to digest all of the crazy things that go into this world that
Yeah.
we all as humans we all live the same strength. Like we all have different, obviously different
Yeah. Same
lives,
similar life experience. Life is
yeah,
life.
right, but we all go through these feelings,
100%
and
we
I
do.
feel like I have felt them extra
Yeah.
for all of us so that we can somehow try to make sense of it and also make realize that gratitude, and I know it's so cliche, but gratitude is everything.
Really is the core of
That
it.
will take you into perspective,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? No
Yeah. I'm
matter
dealing with that.
what.
Like in this moment, I had some weird stuff happen in emails today. And I said to my wife, I'm like, I'm grateful that this is the problem I have to deal with, right? It's not, there could be multiple ones. And also to your point of the Filipinos, my wife is half Puerto Rican, half Filipino. And her Puerto
Oh,
Rican side is like, they're not part of it, but the Filipino side is like all she has. And so that's the tightest, deepest, connected, crazy, cool, pancit, chicken adobo, balut, all that stuff they be getting down with. I've been to the Philippines one time too. Actually, I went down to Quezon City outside of Manila, so I get the culture. It's actually a really cool culture, and I've enjoyed being part of it. Like 20 years now, I've been part of the family. He's from like the little 16-year-old kid, or her grandma's like, "Who's that black boy?" to know
wow.
now, to where now, yeah, grandma gets it. It's you know, uh,
Never worked that accent,
hey,
Mr.
hey,
Trice.
she for sure. Like now she just smiles and looks at me, and I'm like, she gets you get it, grandma. But I do love that this perspective of right, like I feel, but there's a piece to it that I think is missing because while a lot of people feel, right, I feel you may feel depth. Not everybody expresses or emotes, right? My son, he's a kid, he's 17 years old, going to college. This kid, he definitely feels, but he stone faced sometimes. I'm like, bro, you can cry, you can celebrate, right? Did you ever have any stoppage or any like we'll call it apprehension to expressing with that emotion? Or has it always been like a clear flow for you?
It was it's always funny. Whenever I do these things with y'all, it always ends up becoming this huge like therapy session. I'm like, I feel like I should pay you afterwards, right? Because it's like it all comes out. You know what? No one's ever asked me that before. So I appreciate that question. And the answer is yeah, like after my mom died. So she made it till I was 17.
Hmm.
And then and as Filipinos, we're very God centric
Yeah,
and very lots of prayer, lots of church, lots
very
of
Catholic.
all
Yeah,
that stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
super Catholic. And the whole time it was always like, making the bargains with God. Like, if you promise to just let her live, I promise I'll do everything right. I'll be the perfect child. I'll
Hmm.
do all these things. So when she did die at 17, that's when the anger came out.
Mm.
And I was angry at God.
Yeah.
And I was angry. You promised that if I did this and that, it says it right here in the Bible, right? This
Mm.
is what I'm supposed to do. That's where the anger came out. And that's where I shut down.
Yeah.
And that's where, yeah, I didn't let it. I felt like I also had to be extra strong because as an only child, my mother was very big. She was very extra. She was
Mm.
very
Extra personality.
Filipino.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was now my job. Like I had to be that for all the people who loved her.
Mm.
I look like her. I act like her. It was almost then I wasn't allowed to grieve. I had to be her for everyone else.
That's an
So,
emotional drain too. When you're having like when you're pulling emotion of positivity from an empty jar inside, that is draining.
It is. It is. And then you then start to uh, try to protect yourself.
Mhm.
But again, I was only 17. I didn't really know how to work through all of that. And that's when I was already on the way of being a people pleaser because I
Mhm.
did that for my mom. But then I became a people pleaser for the world.
Yeah.
Like literally every person who, obviously men do it too, but I feel like women do fall into that quite a bit.
It's a maternal
You
thing.
know,
Yeah, the service.
yeah.
It's almost like societally you're supposed to take care of, even the battle that what some people have with like, the draw, like this conversation with women about like having kids. I have to have women have to have kids. It's like, you don't all have to, but there's that guilt of the sheer thought of it, and it's an interesting dynamic. But yeah, there's that servants or
Yep.
service that feels like it's always part of the whole dynamic.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
whenever you're in this place and you have this energy, because I mean I've been there. Whenever I went through a divorce, as a kid, when you don't have that and you have to find a way to pull it out, like it's a like gut wrenching pull, and then next thing you know, you wake up and you're empty. Was there a point in time that was like an awe shift moment of like this has got to stop, I got to change, I got to do something? Like, did it ever come to pass? And then what'd you do at that moment if it did?
I ironically, my dad, who I'm super close with, who thank you God is still here kicking, 83. He's a psychiatrist. Lolo is like our center of our lives. We love him so much. And he had always said to me, he always said to me, well, my name's Melissa. My real name's Melissa. I said, Melissa, you think too much. You think too much. Like you're always overthinking. Again, something that I'm seeing so much in the world now, again, with social media and
Yeah,
everybody's like diarrhea of the mouth, all with everything that they're thinking. And sometimes I do want to just stop, people and say, you, this is too much. Like
yeah,
this is, I know that this like is a gift in the sense that you're able to express
express.
yourself,
Yeah,
but at a certain point, guys, we
I
gotta cut
agree.
it.
I tell my wife all the time, the world, everybody nowadays is a microphone, and not everybody needs a microphone. Like it's cool. I mean, I don't even think I need a microphone all the time. So I'm like, I know half
Well,
these
you
people
know
don't.
what? You know what to do with that microphone. So
True.
I'm giving you thought you're allowed,
Thank you.
but there are some that are not. As a matter of fact, it's so funny, not to change the subject, but something just happened last night, which
Mhm.
was so interesting. So Phil and I, we have three daughters. We have 15-year-old twin girls,
Mhm.
all yeah, obviously 15-year-old twins, and then a 12-year-old.
Mhm.
And I've had the incredible blessing, thank you Lord, of having like you, an incredible career where I was able to see the world and travel with the biggest celebrities and see all these amazing things and live this amazing life. And then when I had kids, I started Mally Beauty before I had kids, which is my makeup line.
Mhm.
And then I was like, I want to do this. Like, I want to run this company, do this thing, and I want to be a mom. Like, I want to go to the dance classes, go to the swimming things, and be a part.
Yeah.
So I'm on my social media, my Instagram, quite a bit. Probably too much,
Yeah, it's
but I
okay.
post I post a lot, and
Yeah.
it's funny because I find it important for me to, as a mom, as a same-sex parent in this situation, to be the one who I love to take them to their dance classes, and I wait for them. I allow myself the time
Mhm.
in the car. I call it my mobile office now that we're living in a different world,
Yeah.
right? And I posted a lot, and I actually had somebody, a couple of people, but I have to say I'm pretty proud of my community. They are very loving and
Mhm.
very supportive of us. But every time, the haters, they got to come
It
every
exists.
once
Yeah.
in a
You have
while,
to.
right? Just come in and try to steal your joy just a
Yeah.
little bit, a
Yeah.
little bit. And they said, you know, you're wasting your life. You're wasting your time sitting there at dance class with your kids. Like, there's this
Mm.
thing called time management. Maybe you should think about whatever having. First of all, and normally I just ignore them, Anthony.
Yeah.
Last night I was feeling a
Hey,
little
sometimes,
sassy.
yeah, sometimes the filter of joy disappears. I'm like, you about to get this, and yes.
You better believe it, honey. And I came out and I said, you know what? Mind your own damn business. And that is, if that's how, I want to spend my time.
Mhm.
And again, I think after, many years, Mally Beauty will actually be 17 years next
Oh
month.
wow,
Years
congratulations.
old. Thank you. And it has been a blessing. Lots of ups and downs,
Hmm.
but we are here, and by the grace of God, we are doing very well, and
Yeah.
we are happy. However, so I don't know, again, I digress, but sometimes I feel like the older you get, and I think the reason why I love what you do is you're trying to accelerate people,
Hmm.
you know, to get to their shift, to
Yeah.
get to their epiphanies, all
Hmm.
these things a little bit faster, because we all know that time is very, very special and
Yeah.
we don't have a lot of it.
True.
So
And it goes
I'm
bad fleeting.
so I love what you do. I
Thank you.
love it.
We've actually been playing with this language because it's like, identity is this thing I do, and it's really the core of everything. And while it's academic-y and it's heady, I was like, how do I get people to get this? And what I realized is if you could take yourself back to 17 years ago, I have a feeling that if you were to drop 17-year ago you into today's operational, you would blow a gasket in the first hour of your day. Like you just sheerly off capacity, right? It's
Yes.
just, and I've noticed that the identities that we choose, we live into, they have a certain capacity for hardship, for headaches. Like I have a capacity to handle hard situations, but still show up here and be a pro, right? And there's a thing that people don't understand. There's a lot of capacity. And so I found is what we're really doing, what I'm trying to get you to do is to expand not just when crap hits the fan, but on demand. Like, how do I? Because when crap hits the fan, is when you're like, oh, I got to figure this out. Oh, we had a supply issue today. The kids are over here doing something crazy. A fight at the school. They got COVID. How do we deal? Like, we lost some money. Who took the money? Like this, and now I build. But what if I found a way to like do it on demand? I think that's something that some of the most successful people learn to do in time. It's like, this is coming up. All right, I see this new thing we want to take on. But do I got to adjust in my life to make this happen? Right? Most people they say, I got a dream. Why can't I get the dream done? Right? It's a big piece of it. Let's go back to 17 years ago. How did you get into this thing of beauty? Like not that you're not, a beautiful woman. Like that's not what everybody goes like, I got makeup. Let me make a
Right.
business out of it, right? Like how did it become something you chose to do? And why aren't you a nurse, right?
Right. Especially because you're Filipino, honey.
Yes.
You better be a nurse or a doctor or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Or a comedian like Joe Coy could do that too.
oh, come on. Can we
I've
go
seen him
see
live
you?
3 times. My friend. Well, obviously I go. I'm like the sole black guy I can see over everybody when I'm in there.
Okay, we got to go. And now that he's dating Chelsea, it's like a whole other thing. Like
Yeah,
that is like the comedy double whammy over there.
it
And
is
she's like
great.
an honorary Filipina now. Like
Yeah. She's got it dialed
she's
in. You know what's been the
yeah.
best though, and I don't know, it just timing. His son is the same age as my son. So every single time he comes out with a new special, like his son's one of his characters, and
Yeah.
I'm taking clips and sent to my son. It's like, bro, why are you the only one that can smell your armpits? Like, like my dude will get out of the shower. I'm like, and I'll go in his room and he'll smell like he just put fresh sweat on it. Like, bro, did you not wash them? And it's funny because they'll talk about it in this stand-up comics. It's so hilarious. But anyways, I'm off topic. My apologies. How'd you get into beauty in the first place? How was at the start?
Okay, so very long story short, I'll give you the Cliffs Notes version. I
Cool.
was actually pre-med in college, and
Oh,
I was
okay.
going to be a doctor because that's what my parents were, and that's what I wanted to be.
Hmm.
Um, I realized very soon that that was not going to be my career path. That
Hmm.
while number one, my first epiphany was I didn't want to be a doctor. I wanted to be like my parents.
Hmm.
I saw how they healed people with what I thought was their profession, but what I really think they healed them was their love and
Hmm.
their soul and their energy,
Yeah.
right? So I was like, oh, okay. So I don't have to go through all the years of medical school with something that I'm probably going to be very bad at. But I always loved fashion and beauty and glamour and all that kind of stuff. It was just something that my mother and I shared. So
Yeah.
that was really something that we were very connected with.
Hmm.
So I ended up blah blah, actually became a fashion designer, but in that, as we do, you meet people, you move forward. I decided I always loved makeup, and remember, I'm 100 years old, so it's a completely different world now than
There
than
was
it
for
was
you.
back then, Anthony.
Oh
Back
man.
then, I
Nowadays, my,
always
my wife sends me videos all the time of like these women quite literally like becoming different human beings in like 30 seconds on her clips. Like it's a mask. She's like, they're wearing masks. My wife told my son, hey, just so you know when you go to college, first date, take him to the pool. Like first day, I was like, oh,
You're
she.
gonna be in for a big surprise.
Yeah, a little
Exactly.
bit. No, no, obviously it's not always the case, but yeah, that's it. It is, yeah, that's definitely I've watched it change from when, there wasn't a thing to where now it's like a whole industry. It's beyond understanding sometimes.
Yeah, and that's something I think is very interesting because so anyway, I hustle New
Yeah,
York City, 20 something. I was just on I said yes to everything.
yeah,
Every job. I worked for free. I did all I did my due diligence. It was a different time again. There were no phones. There was no
yeah,
Instagram. You
mhm,
had to hit the pavement.
yeah.
You had to have no pride, and I don't mean that in a bad way.
No, I
I
get
mean
it.
like
Yeah, do what you gotta do.
you got to do what you got to
Don't
do.
be too proud.
Yeah, right. And so anyway, by the grace of God, I ended up meeting an agent who was very, very. How do we say he was one of the best in the business,
Hmm.
and he did not need to take me because I was a little nobody. But
Hmm.
for some reason, he saw something in me that he said, I don't know why I'm going to say this, but I just think you're a star. There's
Hmm.
something in there. He's
Hmm.
like, you do everything I tell you to do, everything. You
Yeah,
don't question me, and we're going to go take this thing.
yeah,
Next thing you know, fade out, fade in. I'm doing Beyonce and Jennifer Lopez and Mariah Carey and
hmm,
Celine Dion, and I'm living this crazy hamster wheel,
yeah,
which was amazing. Don't get me wrong,
hmm,
but as when you're on that, you're on that trajectory of stardom.
hmm,
In a way, people are just like, you know, more, more, more,
yeah.
more, and you're like, okay, 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 but
They
you
tug.
lose yourself,
Yeah,
right? You
hmm,
lose yourself.
yeah,
So anyway, that's how it happened after many, many years, and I always thank Beyonce. I have to always thank Beyonce because she really was a special, special part of my career. And obviously she's Beyonce, but
yeah.
she was a baby really when I met her. So I got to climb this incredible ladder that whole remember the dangerously in love and the
Hmm.
like
Yeah, I remember all that.
dance with me, Anthony. I won't make you dance with me now, but maybe sometime later.
Maybe we'll
But
get it down. I'm a good dancer, man. I'm from
okay,
California. We can dance out here.
okay, we can.
Except for my kids. They can't. Oh, that
Um,
sucks.
right. So, but I got to watch this brand, which she was already a brand, but this big brand become, before my eyes, something very special and very different. And I said,
Yeah.
I want to do that with my makeup. I
Mm,
want to create something.
gotcha.
I want to create something that no one has done before. And I will say very quickly, and I don't toot my own horn often, which at 50, that's
Better
one of
tune
my
it.
epiphanies.
Yeah, you better let the world know. I'm gonna show the world how great I am. That's what Muhammad Ali says. Let it be known. I don't have that issue. I let my kids know. Like, you know how dope I am. Just so you know, people pay me to tell you the things I'm saying for free. I'm dope. Let it be known. Like,
Hold on. Yes, queen.
it's a good.
Go ahead, Anthony. You get the honorary
I
queen.
appreciate it. I like it. I
Yeah.
do. I mean, it's not. I don't. Years ago, somebody told me. There's a colleague and a friend of mine named Brendan Burchard, and I was asking, like,
Oh,
what is
yes,
the thing
friend.
that is unique about him? And she actually said, she says, it's interesting. He has this ability to tell you how great he is, but in no way come off arrogant and do it in a way that makes you feel like you can do the same. So it's like it's not when I say I'm great, I'm not saying you're less than. I'm saying like I'm great. I notice my greatness, and therefore, when I notice my greatness, I can notice yours. Maybe you should too. It's a different way of approaching that thing.
Oh, I love that. I love
A
that.
little
That is
different. So what
that
did
is
what did you see? Because I mean, a lot of people they see the end result. They see Beyonce, Queen Bee, all that fun stuff, right? And I think there's something to what we all think is the thing because the maybe a media puts here's the 7 things that do this and how to build a brand, but there's those little unique nuanced things that no one would even notice that are taking place that you can actually extract, and those are the real key. What do you think are some of the aspects that you've applied that maybe you saw but most people didn't see that allowed you to grow?
well, again, not to sound whatever, but it was such a long time ago, Anthony, where there was this thing, there was this big, especially in makeup or with makeup artistry or people in the fashion and beauty industry. It was always very much a curtain. There was always a curtain, and you could peek behind, but you could not come in
Mm-hmm.
unless you were part of the crew. You could not come in.
Yeah.
I tore that curtain down the minute I got in. The
Mm.
minute that I got into this world, I was like, oh hell no, honey, everybody's coming.
Yeah.
Like I'll never forget. It's you do those those magazine covers where they have all the actresses, like
Yeah.
the hottest actresses on the cover of Vanity Fair. So every actress comes in, Anthony, and they've got their crew and their hair and their makeup and their stylist and everyone's whatever. And
Yeah.
everybody puts up a scrim.
A little
So
separate.
you can't see what they're doing. You can't see how they're creating this beautiful
Yeah.
creature.
Hmm.
And I was always like, oh no, come, let me show you. Let me
Yeah.
show you. And then I'd grab the stylist, then I'd grab the photo assistant. And I'd be like, you want to do a cat eye? Let me show you how to do a cat eye.
Yeah.
And that is something that I felt so passionately about.
Mm.
Was that is bullshit.
It
That
is.
we
Toot
have
their own
to
horn.
try.
I see what happens. I see you, girl. Get it.
So I think that was one of the things,
Yeah.
and it sounds a little cliche now, I'm not going to lie, because it's a different time, but that authenticity and that honesty and that
Yeah.
vulnerability of like, maybe you're not going to like what I'm going to say
Yeah.
about doing this look or this technique,
Hmm.
but I'm going to show you how I feel about it
Yeah.
and what
There's like
about.
there's a catharsis to that too, right? I think a lot of individuals, they have these big dreams to go to big places, but there is a inherent fear of, but what if I get so big and they find out? Now, what they're gonna find out, I don't know, right? But I think for me, like the beauty was like football beauty. Look at that beauty. I tied it up. I don't know how I did that. You're welcome. And so I had the beauty of football was like you don't have an opportunity to hide what you're doing. Like I can see what you've been doing in the weight room by how strong you are, how conditioned you are, what plays you know. Like are you making plays? I can see it all. And after you do that enough, you stop, I think, caring about what people are going to say and judge you because you judge yourself worse. Or you know what to do with the judgment. It's not this I am bad. It's like, oh, I did that crappy. I'll do it better next time. And so you flow. But what you're saying is I'll let people into the room to watch me. And if there was something off, it's like, oh, okay, I'm not bad, but I can do that better, right? I can improve upon something. But also, people always see just that negative, but they don't realize that when you do that and they see it's great, wildfire, because no one else is doing it. So that's a good tooting of the horn. And that's a good thing people need to learn. If you take nothing from it, it's like, you've got to put yourself in a position to look bad so you can look amazing as well.
That is great. Honey, you are a walking soundbite.
Weird stuff. I make it up as
Everything.
I go. 100% making it up as I go. And my brain it's a weird conundrum of stuff that floats around that only comes out in conversation. I quite literally should like just go back and listen to half the things. I had a podcast yesterday. She's like, you're like a meme machine. I'm like, I'm making it up. I'm just don't know where it's coming from. But I think it's just a practice skill I've done over time.
Magic. It's
So
magic.
you have alluded a couple times to like cross the threshold of 50 and it hit you in a way you didn't think it was going to. And I feel like I now want to unpack that box. So what happened? January 8th, Mally went ahead and said, I'm now 50 years old. And the world said, you are. And then Mally goes, wait, what was the thing that came after that?
So the thing that came after that, after I turned 50, was honestly, I thought it's not going to feel any different. It's not going to feel. I'm still, I don't feel old. I
Yeah.
don't feel like when you're 22 and you think 50, you think, okay, one
Oh,
foot in the
ancient.
grave, honey,
Yeah.
it's almost over. Might as
Walker,
well just call it a
wheelchairs.
day. Yeah. so so that was one thing. I knew that I wasn't gonna feel old
Hmm.
because it's just that is all part of, you have a young spirit. You're weird
I
because
am
you have a young and an old spirit. Like I
a
don't
little
know
bit.
how you do that.
I don't know
It's
either.
very interesting.
I'm oddly and creepy playful. I'm always the one jumping around the house, but I can
Yeah.
easily switch in like, wait, I'm actually a professional grown man with children. So I gotta remember that for a minute. But yeah,
Like hold on, what's
it
happening?
works.
But yeah, so that's interesting. But I have a young energy. I love life. I'm grateful. I take every single minute. Every day is a reason for a party for me. I will find a way for a party, honey.
Mm.
And again, that's a little Filipino action
I
in
get
there
it.
too.
Hmm.
But the one thing that I realized that I think got me the most was I all of a sudden really felt. I don't know what the word is. Maybe you, because you're so smart, can help me with this word.
Mm.
I felt like I was past the point. Like it was now I'm on
Hmm.
a timer.
Oh,
Now I know. I
yeah, the
know.
pressure of
It
time.
got real. Yes.
Yeah.
Pressure. pressure not just for business. Not just like I have a lot of things, thank you, Lord, going on right now. And we have
Yeah.
a lot of incredible opportunities right in front of us. And I do believe that God said we have to wait till you're 50 to get this, to make these things happen.
Hmm.
Because that's another thing, you know, I think all of us always say, like, well, why isn't it happening now? Why isn't it happening now?
Hmm.
But I think the universe has another reason why
Little
it's
way, a
happening.
little plan done.
When you're ready, it's gonna happen.
Hmm.
But that's one thing. But then all of a sudden, not to be whatever, not to get like morbid, but I was like, like, you know, I'm over unless I'm lucky enough to live over 100. I'm past
Yeah.
half, and
That's exactly, yeah.
and I have so many things. So I think it made me a little, I've always been a little bit fierce, but honey, it made me a little more fierce.
Yeah.
I think, who was it? Is it Jen Hatnick or somebody who said, if it's not a hell yes, it's a
The hell
hell no.
no. Hmm. Yeah, I
And
get it.
that became very, very evident to me. I've also gotten a little more sassy. I always used to look at my Lola, my grandma, and
Yeah.
she was very blunt.
Yeah.
And I would always be like, "Ooh, you're so harsh."
Yeah.
And now all of a
I don't
sudden, I'm
care.
starting.
Yeah, what are you gonna take from me? I've got pretty far. I get it. It's funny you
Yeah,
say that. So I do, like, I speak, right, for a living, and there's always these moments where, like, I want people to grasp the immediacy of life. And so I tell a story about my mom. She passed from MS at 37, sorry, 47. And at the time I was 30 when she passed, and I had this odd realization, which is I'm thankful I had it then. It seems like you're having it now. And I was like, man, I could be here for less time than I've already been here. And I think it's not about the time after. What it is, it's I realized how fast it felt. I was like, that's where the fear came. Like, it feels like it was a blink of an eye. And I could be here for less time than that. And then all of a sudden it crept up. I was like, I gotta start living. And so I started living in a different way. And another good friend of mine, you know Craig Clemens? Craig and Sarah?
yes, yes.
Awesome. We had a mastermind we were doing out in Puerto Rico, I want to say, and they had this time to share. And I'd heard this in a different way, but he really clarified it in some good words. The dude's a copywriter, so obviously he can talk like gold drips from the dude's tongue. So what he says there's these moments in our life called event horizons. You know, there's these. If you have the same life lived every day, we go to the same place in the summertime. I have the same job, same vacation. What happens after 10 years? It feels like one. You can't remember if it was 5 years ago or 10 years ago, right? But what ends up happening when you have multiple things you do throughout a month or a year, and it's just so much, you recall those individual events and they become new horizons the next day. So what I've been trying to do is have this, okay, well, I got X amount of years left. I want to live with so many different event horizons that the 1 year feels like 50. There's just so much going on. And so therefore I have less of a fear because it's all just a matter of how I experience time. But I definitely grasp what you're saying because it's settled in my head about like 8 years ago. I was like, I better start doing stuff differently. And I've been trying to do a whole lot since then.
Yes. What is one of the number one things I think that you would say you've done differently? Now, because I feel like you've done everything
A whole lot, yeah. I do.
very well.
So I purposely put myself in the space of TV. Now, this is not to say that I desire to be a TV anything, but
Okay.
it's the weirdest little world to walk into if you're not used to it. Like I did American Ninja Warrior. I've done
Yeah.
there was a remote survival on Discovery Channel. I did this what it was called Mental Samurai with Rob Lowe, and it's like you get to go explore and experience and do weird stuff. So those little things, and
Yeah.
then the really the cool thing is like my kids and I and my wife, we want to go and do things. And I want to have not the same experience. I want to push my kids into weird stuff that I know is not going to break them, but it's going to give them the hardships they need because they're not going to have the same ones I have, right? But they need those hard moments. Like right now, my kids run track, my wife runs track. I throw football with my son. I coach their teams. And so at the same time, I speak, I create, I write. And what did I think it is I create. I think that's what it is. You ask what I do, I create at a whole
Yeah.
different level. Because, like, in the process of the business or your family, that creation process is the only thing that I think exposes you to the nuances of new that creates difference.
Wow. Hold on.
Oh, is there another fan I don't know about?
A different fan. This is a good one. I'll change it, but it's look at her.
Oh,
Look
I like it.
at her.
I'm gonna send you some blue ones that have my face on it. Just you be like, oh, shift.
Listen, you never know. You never know. It could happen.
It
It could
could.
happen.
How about
Um,
you?
Pardon?
How about you? What are some things now that you're in this stage and this mentality? What are you trying to do?
Number one, I am. This is going to sound really shitty, and I'm sorry
That's
about
okay.
it in advance, but I am no longer so worried about everybody's feelings.
Mm,
You know,
yeah,
again, being that thing, I realize that this is I have to protect my spirit. I have
yeah.
to protect my time. I have to protect my family. And you know what's so funny? I feel like maybe you're probably better at this. I think sometimes I'm really good at telling other people to do these things.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. Okay, good.
What?
Makes me feel better.
No, yeah, yeah, I get it. Yeah, that I should be doing
Like,
myself too.
spirit, guys, come on. Like, you know, but I realized that I have to practice what I preach. I
100%.
have a funny little, Instagram page called Positivity Preacher. And by the way, it doesn't mean positivity preacher. Like I always say, I'm not there to like shoot roses up your ass and say,
Hmm.
everything's great. Everything's great. No, the whole premise of it is that both my husband and I, because we're both very similar in that way, is we realize that life is hard. We realize that
Hmm.
stuff is not great.
Yeah.
But the point is, you can choose positivity. You
Hmm.
can choose to be happy. You can choose to find the joy. You can choose to chase the joy. You can choose to, and you must.
Yeah.
I mean, you can cry, you can get and wallow in sadness, you can do all that. But then, honey, you got to clean your booty off, get up off that
Hmm.
chair, and get to work
Yeah.
because that's the only way we're going to survive. So
Yeah.
I'm just getting a little more fierce. So RuPaul is like my best friend. I
Mhm.
don't know if you know who that is,
Oh yeah,
but
my daughter watches the what is it?
Drag Race.
Yeah, she watches that on like I don't know A&E or whatever show it's on. My daughter has the channels figured
RuPaul's
out.
Drag Race. Yes, it is. Listen, that man, you need to get him. Talk about off shift.
Been around for a
That
long time too. I feel like I remember back like what 30 years or so, 20, 30 years been active. Most
oh yeah.
definitely been rocking for a long time.
My husband is 60, and so is Rue.
Oh, there you go. Okay, that makes sense.
Talk about changing the trajectory of the world. Talk about shifting.
Mm,
He took something that was so scary, so taboo, so a certain amount, sector of the LGBTQIA plus community, obviously, and
mhm.
probably like most moms in like Minnesota who love drag queens,
Yeah, yeah.
that and made it mainstream.
Hmm.
I mean, mainstream. That took, a lot of courage, a
A
lot
lot
of
of time.
strength,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
a lot of I'm not getting off this train until you're getting on with us, kind
yeah.
of a thing.
Hmm.
But anyway, why was I talking about that?
I was asking you
I
the things that you've decided to do. It's almost like you're going in a direction. I think of like how like you don't care about feelings, but you do at the same time. And I don't know quite sure where it all fits, but things you should be telling
Yes,
other people that you're like, I should probably adopt that too.
right, right, and has and to live, Rue always says, which I love, is use every crayon in the box.
Mm,
This is life is color. Life is big,
mhm.
you know, and you can't be afraid of what other people are going to think. Now,
Yeah.
I've always been a little bit of a drag queen
Mm,
in my own way. And I've always loved, like I love me some Dolly Parton. I love like Big. I love like all this stuff. And I've
yeah.
always been actually in the way that I live very unapologetic in the way I present myself. Like
Yeah.
I don't care, if I'm gonna, wear, you know, neon platform shoes to
Gonna have it.
church.
Just
It's
gonna get
all
done.
that's yeah, it's
Yeah.
all good. But for many years, I'll never forget. I was looked down upon, especially in the beauty industry, for that because people did not, you know, I'm sure in your, in sports and in your industry, you are sort of meant to fit into a box,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah. If
everybody's
they can't
kind
place
of
you, it's uncomfortable.
right. Right. And I'll never forget one time I was a young makeup artist and I was very much like this and lots of lashes and lots of whatever. But at the time, makeup artists were very kind of downplayed. Like they
Mhm.
were artisty, like they didn't like wear makeup and they wore t-shirts and they were just, it was like an homage to being an artist was almost downplaying the fact that you did makeup. So you didn't really wear makeup.
Gotcha.
But I was not that. And I remember going to a job. My agent had gotten me a job with a really big photographer, with a really big model and a big hairdresser. And this was like my moment. Like I was going to be able to get in and do this thing. So I went in my full thing and I was doing what I was doing. And I did makeup, and I'm always very energetic at shoots. Like I like to get people going and we have a good time. At the end of the day, which went very well, right? At the end of the day, the hairstylist was like, "Come here, I want to talk to you." I was like, "Okay." And I was like, "This is it. These are my new best friends. Like, this is it. It's happening." Yeah. And he's like, "I want to let you know." He's like, the makeup was great. The makeup was great. Your energy was great. Everybody really loved being around you. He's like, "But I got to tell you," he's like, "this thing you're doing," and he kind of like hand scans me, like this look. He's like, "I got to tell you," he's like, "everybody was laughing at you." And I was like, okay, all right, and I realized that, if I wanted to be big, I would have to change who I was.
Conform a little bit.
And I went home to my husband, Phil, and who, he was a model for many years. He had been in the industry. He's a redneck from South Carolina. He'll tell you right now himself. And he said, "How'd it go?" He knew it was important. And I said, "Well, they were laughing at me." And he was like, "Fuck those people."
Good.
And I was like, okay. Yeah. And, it was a journey, but I realized that if I was going to make it in what I was doing, my personal brand, my thing, I can't listen to what those people were saying.
You did it your own way.
I did it my own way. And it was the most life-changing and most important lesson I think I ever have learned.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to cry.
It's okay. It's powerful, though. I think it's necessary. It's like I think people don't grasp that if you're going to be great is a difference from norm. So if you desire to be different from norm, like you have to look and operate different.
Because that's a good one too, honey.
I didn't. I just made it up in the fly. I promise you. I'm making it. Right. This is how my brain goes. It's good, though. Right. It's good stuff. My son, for example, I have these talks with him. He wants to be a great football player. I want to be better than me, but he has to want to be better than me. The good thing is the moment he does, right? And so I explained to him, because he had this look on his face as a team he's going to play flag football against coming up. And I go, you excited? Yeah. You can see in his face a little bit. Where I said, "What's wrong?" He goes, "Like, other kids." I said, "Well, like they're bigger than you?" "Well, no." I said, "Faster?" "No." I said, "Well, what's the issue?" I don't know. I'm like, work, because they're a good team. And I try to explain to him. I said, at the end of the day, the way that I was able to climb to the place I got is I had to look at it and be like, I was different. And what I meant by that was I had to show up, and as opposed to being worried about you, I walked in the place like, "Oh, you're going to be worried about me." And so I had that thought of like, with the moment I felt myself going, I was like, "Bro, quit being a sissy, dog. You got this." Like, and I would talk to myself like, I'm going to make them worried about me. And so I would wear like the single sleeve in high school so you could see me walking up. I wanted you to know who I was, and I wanted that to drive me to be great, to be in alignment with that. And so I played this clip from Mystical. Mystical back in the day, the rapper?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I'm going to try to do it. And this is what I'm going to tell you how it goes. And then I'm going to tell you what I meant by this. And he goes, "I'm cold in the line with no hair. If you ever see me fighting the forest with a grizzly bear, help the bear." Right? He has this whole like flow to him. And what he's saying is, if you see me fighting the forest with a grizzly bear, don't worry about the bear. Like what you believe that he had this, it's a different sense of pride. So I'm like, bro, go out there and be like this guy. And so that's the mentality. I think what I'm hearing is like, you may see me battling with the normalcy of whatever's going on, that normalcy of these people sitting and laughing at me. That's the bear, but like, hey, don't worry about me. Like, help them.
It's gold. You're gold.
Some days, today's a good day. See, I kept all my brain juices for our conversation.
I love it.
Thoroughly enjoyed this. What's fun about these conversations is, because I don't come to them with any kind of flow, I think that whatever's supposed to come out comes out. I think that's the funnest part of this whole thing. It was an accident when I started this podcast, and now it's not. It's an on-purpose accident.
mean it was an accident?
Well,
What?
because at
What?
one point I was like, people doing podcasts, and people like, we should do a podcast. I don't know. And I'm like, what? Because you got to enjoy doing something to do it. And I was like, what's the drive behind it? And most people do it because they want to get followership, and I was like, I just want to have a reason to message somebody to talk to them. That's what I like. I was like, I know people, but I was like, I want to know more people and I want to talk to them. So what's a way that I can, I was like, what if I have a podcast? And I like, and so that was my thing. And it turned into this now 320 episodes of me just meeting random cool people. And it's been a blast to do it. And I think in the beginning, I tried to like, here's the questions and here's the flow. And now I quite literally don't even look at who's on the schedule until like maybe an hour before. And I'm like, oh, cool. And I go to the website. Oh, okay. And then we just go. And this turns into somehow magic. It's pretty cool. I'm not going to lie.
It is very cool. Well, you're very, very easy to talk to. And I will
Thank
say,
you.
I have done, my share of podcasts in my day. And I'll tell you, you definitely have a completely different energy, a
Thank you.
different flow. There is um, I don't want to call it like an innocence. I don't mean it like that, but
Mm.
it's very much like an open, it just feels like an open conversation,
That's the goal.
and that is something very special,
Thank
very,
you.
very special and very, unique.
I
So I
appreciate
think
that.
that that is definitely going to take you. I mean, you're already there. I don't know how much more. I know you got more. I know you
I
got
do.
more.
We always have more. The biggest room in the world is the room for improvement. So I'll go find out how to fill that
Yeah.
room up. I didn't make that one up. That's Harvey McKay. 100% Harvey McKay.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. This has been a fun conversation. Seriously, that's the cool thing. I think we've got to this good tick to where like they're all fun because you know what it is. I'm curious. I just want to know these things. It's like my son, but 30 years later, like I just keep asking us. I get to go back and be childish. We'll call it in the way of just like I don't know what I'm gonna ask, but things come.
Yeah.
And I also don't have a judgment around what people say. People can say things in opposition to what I may believe, right? But it's like it's okay. If I want to have my belief, it better be okay with you having yours. And so there's not this judgment and perception. I actually am curious to know about these things, and it makes it fun for me.
Has that happened to you? Has there been a moment,
Mhm.
not necessarily in the podcast, but or where you were having a conversation with someone and it was so far from what you believe or what you think, and how do you
Oh
handle
yeah,
that? I think that this is an interesting question because
hmm
our world has changed
ton of it.
so much, and
Yeah,
we are all now allowed to say whatever the fuck we want,
hmm
and nobody can stop you, which
yeah,
I think we need to.
yeah. I totally doubt. I mean, you can cancel somebody, but that's a whole other
Yeah.
conversation. But
Yes.
I think what's interesting is I want to find out the depths of people's hearts and their humanity because there's gold there. And if you say something and this is what people do. Somebody else says something that's not in line with my belief. And for some reason, I place it into a space of attack. Now, if they're saying something to assault me, that's one thing. But if you're
Hmm.
simply saying, I believe this, people will
Hmm.
put in a box of, well, if you believe that, you must actively think this about me. It's like, oh, no, no, I just said I believe that. And so I
Ooh.
just don't have the talents. If somebody's like, "This is my belief," I'm like, "Cool." I mean, you're not shaking mine. It's my belief. You're not attacking mine. I go, "Oh, curious. Why is that?" And I just want to know. And
Hmm.
so I feel like that allows people the space because I'll tell them like, "I don't know if I believe the same thing, but why?" But they'll notice it's not this condemning judgment. And so now they feel more free to talk. And actually, I think there's better connection and better understanding for both parties when you can have that happen. But societally, we're not letting it happen as much as we should.
No, no, it is definitely something that I think has made me look. I don't want to say that this whole COVID situation has obviously been a terrible. There's no words to
So yeah.
describe how awful it has
Mhm.
hurt so many people.
Yeah.
But as you know, positivity preacher up in here, trying to find the silver lining, trying to find the things. I'll say personally for me, it stopped me dead in my tracks.
Mm.
Like I was on the hustle. Like I
Yeah.
was, on the road and we were working, and one of my big things, which I think is something that I had to learn to accept about myself, was that I am not the person. I can't half-ass anything, right?
Yeah.
So I made this company. I said I'm going to give it 110. Had these babies. I'm going to be mom 110. I married this man. He is going to know that I love him 110 every single time.
Mhm.
The problem with that is, and I did it for many, 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 many years, was that the only one that was suffering was me,
Mhm.
right? Because I wasn't taking care of myself
Yeah.
spiritually, physically, like, because we're running.
Yeah.
Um, this thing, even though has been awful, I think, for the world,
Mhm.
and uh, it stopped me in my tracks and made me realize what was important.
Yeah.
And I think every single situation in our lives, and you have had many, that you can look around and go, why did that have to happen to me,
Mhm.
right? Um, what is it about it that I can, not to sound cliche, but what can I learn
Yeah.
and what can I take to my next journey?
100%. Yeah, and then if you live in that perspective, there never are problems. They're Cadillac problems. It's like it's a little bump in the road. I gotta get suspension. And it does because it's odd when I think about the time of shutdown. Well, overall, I'm like it's just weird. The world perspective. I'm like I enjoyed this. Like I had fun with my wife and my kids. We were home more often. It was actually took a road trip across the country. Like these things weren't possible prior to. And
Yeah.
so yeah, the slowdown I was able to refocus. I think for a lot of people, it exacerbated the what they were at their core. It just kind of all came out, and in that, I think a lot of people found things inside they didn't like, and so I was just like, I like me, so I just get to do more of me, and that's cool. So we had fun,
Yes.
but I
Yes.
totally get it. I fully understand, and it's just like a guilt around the fact that I've enjoyed the pandemic for me. But in the beginning, I was like, I don't want to share it. Now I'm like, sorry, but not like, don't you want
Yeah.
that? Don't you want to have joy when these things happen? And so, got to be an
That's
example if you
right.
want people to lead into it.
That's
Oh
right.
man, our time has
I
somehow come to a
know.
conclusion. But here's the thing: I want to know. Last
Yeah.
question, and then I'm gonna ask how people can get a hold of you and all that fun stuff. Here's the question I always finish off with: what promise did God make to the world when He created you?
God promised that He would bring the most extra, the most unapologetic, the most loving human
Mhm.
on the planet. That is what I strive to be. I strive to show love and authentic. I want to say this is very, very important because,
Mhm.
again, you are what you see. I
True.
love that about you.
Thank you.
You are what you see. I have always been what I see. What you see on QVC, on Rachel Ray, on the Wendy Show, on the
Mhm.
that's us
Same.
right here, right now, baby. That's
Yeah.
all you get.
That's all you
I'm
can.
not
Yeah.
an actor,
There you go.
right? You're not an actor. We do what we do, and we do it with a heart,
Mhm.
with your heart. And that is something that I have been passionate about my whole life. We'll go to the grocery store and people see me and they'll look at Phil and they'll say, Phil, is she as crazy as she is that I see? And he says, yeah,
100%.
it's kind
All
of
the way
what you
across the
think.
board. All the way
We're
across the
you.
board. It's the only way to do it, man. My wife, she's always like, she like has to like talk to me like my kids. Like, this is me new people that you don't know just yet. So I'm like, all right. So like, I have to like can up the jokes and do different stuff. But sometimes I still do it. And she's like, they don't know you yet. I'm like, well, they've got to know me today, aren't they? They got to know the time we leave. So I totally get it. There's just weirdness, but I think that's what I found is even when she thinks it's weird, like you can tell that people are enjoying it because it is different and it's a nuance and there is levity to it, and so the world needs us to keep showing up the way we are for sure.
That's it. We're unicorns, honey. And
Yep, yep.
that's what we preach every single day. And I'll tell you very, very quickly, because I know it's time to go, but that is how we're raising our kids
Hmm.
to say, and we always say we're the weird circus family, and
Hmm.
we really are. And we don't care. We
Yeah.
don't care because I feel like at the end of the day, there's already enough of, I'm just going to say it, the basics, the
Hmm.
normies,
Yeah.
right? The people, we have to be here to show the world that it's okay to live authentically who you are, as weird as it is.
Yeah.
As weird as it is. I have a daughter, she's 15 years old, loves Raggedy Ann,
Hmm.
loves it,
Yeah.
dresses up like Raggedy Ann,
Good.
walks around with Raggedy Ann. She's 15 years old.
Yeah.
And I sit there and I'm like,
Do
I
it.
see Raggedy Ann.
Yeah. I
Right.
like it. My daughter's doing the same thing. She's got she tries these new things and new nails. At first, the dad, I'm like, what are you doing? And then I'm like, too she is. Beautiful. Where can I send
Yes.
people to come hang with you?
you. Well, on my Instagram is my favorite. It is where I pretty much live most of the day. It's Mally Roncal on Instagram, but also on Facebook and TikTok.
Mm.
Are you good on the tick? Do you do the
I'm
TikTok?
about to. I actually have a whole the whole company, the team has been like, we got to figure stuff out. Because I sit back and I do my. I'm not a social first person. I'm like, I love my life, and I'm like, oh yeah, I should share this. But they're like, no more, Anthony. So I'm like, all right. So we have this whole thing. I'm gonna be living there. I promise.
Yes, that's the thing, and that's my thing. Is like I'm always on Instagram. I almost too much, but TikTok, I'm getting there, and then also Mally Beauty. But I love to talk about the QVC thing because that was where I really felt passionate about
Mm.
launching Mally Beauty 17 years ago. I could have done it in department stores, I could have done it whatever, but I wanted to be the one to connect. I wanted to be the one to teach women and men how to, more importantly, the way they look, how
Yeah.
to feel their most beautiful. And that's something. So we're always on QVC. We're
Awesome.
always running around, and but I love that I got to spend this time with you. I feel
Thank you.
so grateful
Ditto.
that you had me on, and because honey, you got some fierce people on this channel, so
We get
I
some
feel
cool people.
very
Yeah. God is good in that way, for sure.
yes,
No
it's
complaints
so
in this
good.
thing.
But again, birds of a feather.
True.
You're a great human with a great heart. You can feel it. You can just your energy is
Thank you.
so wonderful and funny and kind and smart, and you're a good man. So
Thank you.
I feel
I try to
very
be. I believe what you do in the dark comes to the light. So this is me. And like people are like, isn't it hard to be a guy at the forefront? What if they, X, Y, and Z? And I go, it's not hard if it's who you are.
yes.
It's hard if you're trying to play that. But I'm like, no, I'm like, this is me. This is my wife and I do. I tell her what we do and how we do our life, and my kids. Like you're seeing it, so it's like it's super easy. No one can walk in here and go, I know something. It's just nothing to know. I already I already do it. This is Ant. So it's
I
way
love
smoother.
well,
Beautiful.
you
Thank
kept
you.
doing
Thank
yeah,
you seriously for coming on. You're a busy
but
human being. You got a lot going on, but you chose to hang out with us, and so I do appreciate that. You who are watching right now, thank you for hanging out with us, also and being privy to this weird, cool, awesome, loving conversation. Hope it serves you. Honestly, I pray it served you in some way. And if there's someone in your life that you know needs to hear the conversation, share the episode. Hit the button that says share, put it in their inbox, or just share it out to the world. But also rate, review, all the fun stuff. Would love that so more people can hear it. That's it. Outside of that, as always, make the most of your off shift moments so you can make shift happen. It's Anthony Trucks and Mally Roncal signing off. Hey, thank you for tuning in to the Oz Shift podcast. I pray that we gave something amazing to your life. And if you found this episode served you in some way, I would love you could share it with people you know, people you love, as well as your community, because you never know who needs that simple little seed that can grow into something amazing for their life. And the actual training doesn't stop here. If you want your free copy of the show notes sent to you after every episode so you can get the major points consolidated down, simply go to textanthony.com and message the word notes. Till next time, make shift happen.